You ever have one of those mornings where the world just feels something? Tightening a hinge on the old east barn door when I spotted a scrap of white against my farmhouse. Except when I got closer, it wasn't a grocery flyer or tax notice. It was an envelope taped right to the weathered cedar. Now that house has been in my family since 1914, long before anyone around here thought electricity was more than a city rumor. These days it's my tool shop and office. No one lives there, but it's the heart of the farm, you know what I mean? And right then I got the sense something was about to upend a century of peace. I tear open the envelope, official letterhead gold seal. Looks like a bank ad at first, but it's not. It's from the Springwood Acres Homeowners Association. Notice of property lien. My jaw about hit the porch. According to them, my heritage structure was under their jurisdiction, now unpaid community dues totaling $11,700 subject to enforcement, and if I didn't pay up, foreclosure. Yeah, that happened. I reread it twice looking for the punchline, but it just got worse. My farm wasn't part of any HOA. The closest one was that plastic little subdivision half a mile away, all beige boxes and matching flags. But the letter said my farmhouse was inside some protected cultural perimeter because it visually integrated with their community. Basically, my house looked too good next to their prefab dream, so they figured they'd claim it. There was even a document attached, some Architectural Integration Act stamped by the HOA board. No signature, just a flat statement that my property now enhanced the collective identity of Springwood Acres. I swear the old cedar door creaked at that one, like even the house was laughing. I drove up to the mailbox, double-checked the county sign, Bowden Farm, established 1914, unincorporated. Everything checked out on my deed, tax ID, all of it. But then I pulled up the county's online map and nearly lost my breakfast. Some genius had redrawn the boundaries just for my place, the old farmhouse and a crooked slice around it, now colored pastel yellow, marked Springwood Acres Zone C. The update was 3 weeks old, and the filer was Karen Shaw, HOA president. I'd never met her, but around here everybody knows the legend. She once tried to fine a farmer for parking his combine too close to her fence. So I called the number on the notice, still thinking this had to be a mix-up. She picked up after 3 rings, voice smooth and smug. Springwood Acres, this is Karen. I told her who I was and what I got. She goes, "Oh, Mr. Bowden, I hoped you'd call. Your home is now part of our community's heritage perimeter. Congratulations. It's a meaningful contribution to our neighborhood's continuity." I said, "Lady, that house has been here since before your HOA was a thought in anyone's head." She just laughs. "Exactly. That's what makes it valuable. You should be proud." My voice got sharp. "You don't get to include my property in anything without my say-so." She leaned on that fake sweet tone. "The board followed all due process. You were given the chance to object." I asked where she hesitated, then says they sent notice to the old farmhouse address, the one nobody's used since the Reagan era. She knew what she was doing. I told her she had till tomorrow morning to take the lien off or we'd have a very public problem. She just sighs and hangs up. That's when I knew it was on. By sunrise, I was at the county land records office with a folder of documents that still smelled like my dad's old desk drawer. I told the clerk, Janice looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. This lien was bogus. She tapped around on her computer and goes, "Mr. Bowden, looks like a corner of your land's been administratively reclassified as part of Springwood Acres' overlay." I ask, by who she turns the screen, boundary adjustment request. 23 days ago, filed by, you guessed it, Springwood Acres HOA. No objections received. She says so. The adjustment was approved. I bark. I never got notice. She shrugs. "We mailed it to the registered address, 121 Farmstead Lane. That mailbox hasn't seen a letter since kids stuffed firecrackers in it 6 years back." She says, "Legally, you were notified. Non-response is considered tacit approval under the community overlay statutes." I told her it was insane, but she just gave me a printout and a stack of forms. Back home, I call Judith. My lawyer woman's got more fight in her than a cattle dog. She goes quiet, then asks, "Is that house registered as a separate parcel?" Turns out, yeah, from some old paperwork in the 70s. That's how they're treating it. As a freestanding unit gives them a loophole to try and steal your land. I wasn't having it. That night, I hammered a massive private property, not part of HOA sign into the gravel, parked my truck as a warning, and waited. Sure enough, 2 days later, a white SUV rolls up. Out steps Karen in designer shades, power walking with a clipboard. She's snapping photos before I can wipe the grease off my hands. I ask Mrs. Shaw, what brings you out? She starts in on how my sign violates their bylaws. Section 4.3 signage, aggressive language, blah blah. I tell her, you're quoting rules from a neighborhood I'm not in on land my family's owned since Teddy Roosevelt. She holds up the clipboard like it's a badge. Our perimeter expansion directive applies here. I say, you're trespassing. Want to leave or should I call the sheriff? She ignores me. Focuses on my roof. Corrugated metal county approved after a hailstorm in 2013. Not your business. She chirps. Well, your roof doesn't fit the historic aesthetic. If you don't replace it, the board will fine you $100 a day. That's when I step between her and the camera, tell her there's not a legal inch of this that'll hold up. She smiles all teeth, then take it to court. She leaves in a squeal of tires, but the message is clear she's not bluffing. That night, a corrective order's taped to my mailbox outlining every so-called violation. Roof color, sign size, visual dissonance. I send it to Judith, who calls me after dark. Travis, this isn't about rules, it's a land play. They've done it before, 3 parcels in 5 years. Same strategy to clud the owner with fines until they fold. Legal extortion. I stood at my window looking at the porch light flicker thinking this house survived tornadoes, the Dust Bowl, and now it's up against a bunch of HOA wannabe warlords. The next morning, a city inspector shows up, clipboard in hand, wants to check the old farmhouse due to recent jurisdictional updates. I say I'm not in the HOA, but he shrugs. That's between you and them. Didn't let him in, not without a warrant, but the threat was obvious. I documented everything, photos, audio, paper trail. Judith digs deeper and finds a consulting fee paid from Karen to a county official days before the new boundary was filed. That's the smoking gun. We file a countersuit, fraudulent lien, boundary tampering, bribery. And suddenly the story goes public. Local news crews show up, then national media. Karen tries to spin it standing by a flower bed talking heritage corridors and community values. Meanwhile, online forums explode. Reddit's got 1,000 comments overnight. Neighbors start sharing horror stories. A retired county guy helps us pull the whole paper trail. Fake notices a doctored signature on the certified mail internal memos where Karen rips their case apart. She stands up cool as ice and tells the judge, this isn't enforcement, it's colonization. We dropped the bribery evidence, the forged consent, the decades-old deed and affidavit from my aunt in Oregon. The judge listens, and you could see him getting angrier with every page. He calls for full mediation. Karen finally shows up in person looking like she's headed to a PTA brunch, not a legal dogfight. When the mediator sees our stack of proof, fake signatures, bribe, trail proof, the property's physically separated by a public utility, Karen's lawyer throws in the towel. They ask for a ruling, and 3 days later the judge delivers lien voided, HOA jurisdiction revoked. Karen Shaw referred to the prosecutor for fraud and conspiracy. But the real kicker. The court awards me damages, legal fees, stress, trespass, attempted property theft over $280,000. Karen's house goes up for auction to pay restitution. I buy it cheap through a third-party bidder. Not out of spite. Okay, maybe a little, but because it sits right on my border. We tear down the fake fence, plant real grass, open it up for local kids and farm apprentices, put up a wooden sign. This land is not governed by any HOA. This land is farm. Folks start calling it the anti-Karen farm. I let them. The old farmhouse. Now registered as a heritage site, untouchable by any HOA city planner or anyone with a dream of fake stone mailboxes. And you know what? Some evenings I sit on that porch and watch the sun bleed out across the fields, just listening to the wind and the old boards settling. There's peace in knowing no one's going to outmaneuver a man who knows how to fight for what's his. So let me ask you, was it justice or just a lucky break? Ever had an HOA try something shady on you, or did you stand your ground and win? Tell me your story down below, and if you think old homes and old families matter more than some paper-pushing HOA, hit that subscribe and let the world know what real community looks like.